Dun 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 na 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 dun na 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 dun na 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 na. The Spider-Man one was called like Spider-Man. Radio.
Do you know who made that song?
Lemmy.
Eddie Van Halen.
I was gonna say Lemmy. Did he really?
Yeah, that's Eddie Van Halen.
Does that count as a David Lee Roth song then? Or is
I don't know if David Lee Roth did the vocals.
Sam Hagar. Yeah, that's David Lee Roth. Spider-Man. What a use of that man's talent.
Sure.
Some things stick with you. The X-Men theme song certainly does. We love the X-Men, and we're going to be talking about a fun hypothetical of who you'd like to see join the team. But before we do so, my name is Chris.
I'm Eddie.
And we are not too old to talk about and experience the things we love, including talking about the X-Men. Now, they've been making more and more waves recently. Obviously, if you saw our review with spoilers of Deadpool and Wolverine, Wolverine, the comic accurate version, or at least the one that's tall enough to do movie justice, because we saw actual comic accurate Wolverine.
That 4 foot tall short king.
I did. I saw an interview, not an interview. I saw a thing. I think IGN posted a picture of the real guy, and he is like 4'9".
Really? Oh, they did the Chris Evans.
Oh yeah, that's
a person, and they napped the face on.
Yes, sir. That is a little guy, and he's not a little person, but he's
just a short king.
He's let's call him that. And so, but the Wolverine that you want with the yellow suit and the claws and the mask and the swearing has now entered this world. Obviously, we've talked about before that I think WandaVision did a great deal of kind of showing that not only are mutants going to be coming more and more frequently, but that 20th Century Fox stuff is on the table because we were led to believe that her brother Quicksilver was in that show. Yeah. That would have to be a 20th Century Fox reference, if accurate. Then you watch Deadpool and Wolverine and realize everything is on the table now. Basically, anything that Marvel owns and is ever licensed out, they're allowed to now work with.
Yes.
Except for Sony. Yeah, except for Spider-Man. It's so funny. It's like, I would trade you 9 Avengers for Spider-Man, and they just can't do it. But anyway, let's talk about the X-Men, because they are kind of here. They're only going to be coming more and more now. What are your hopes for an MCU X-Men, because we've had such a long time to evaluate a 20th Century Fox X-Men?
I would love to see them take a stab, or like a Kevin Feige helmed stab at some of these iconic X-Men stories. I would love to see Age of Apocalypse. I would love to see the Dark Phoenix saga. I would love to see Days of Future Past. There are so many great X-Men stories that I would love to see. House of M. Oh my God, I want to see House of M so bad. And you're able to do that now. And I would love to see you take a stab at it, because Age of Apocalypse, the Dark Phoenix saga, X3 were all really poor stabs at those stories. And I think that one thing that the MCU and Disney's Marvel has done very, very well is staying true to these stories while also freshening them up.
Sure. So one thing, I'm going to give you a cross-reference, right? For anybody that knows us from a past life, we used to cover pro wrestling, and anybody that still either knows about pro wrestling or whatever, I will tell you that Vince McMahon, right? I'm going to give you this example, that if Vince McMahon didn't come up with the character himself, certainly if it originated someplace else, I'm either not going to use it at all, or I'm going to humiliate it, or there's one of 3 things: not use it, humiliate it, or try and just not get it, right? So things that come to mind are when he wanted to take, Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes wasn't his creation and was on par with respect-wise with any wrestler in the business. So when Dusty Rhodes comes from the NWA to the WWF, he's got to wear polka dots and dance and just be a mockery of himself, right? When they wanted to bring in like Bill Goldberg the first time, I know they tried, they just didn't quite get it right. The NWO, I know they tried, but they just didn't quite get it right. And then there's some things that we're just not going to do at all because they're not mine, and
Yeah.
they can't be good ideas because they're not my ideas. And the reason I bring this up specifically is what I applaud Disney for is Disney's not about to do that, right? So
Yeah.
it feels like, and because it makes the most sense, so they're just going to say, listen, we're not going to recast Wolverine. It's going to be it's going to be Hugh Jackman. You want it to be Hugh Jackman. We know that there's a Hugh Jackman that's in one world that's dead, so we brought you this Hugh Jackman because you don't want Wolverine to be anybody else. And as long as this guy's willing to play the
We'll do
character, we're going to get 20th Century Fox's idea into our MCU, right? Because we're not afraid of that, and we don't hate anything we didn't create. We bought all of these things. We acquired all of these things because we thought they were valuable and worth using.
Yeah.
It's like how Vince McMahon would get these wrestlers and then change everything. And it's like, why did you sign them? This was the person you thought was already talented as they were, right? So with the MCU, I'm psyched that this is like an acknowledgement that this Deadpool started in the 20th Century Fox world, that this Logan is from the 20th Century Fox world, and that all these characters got together one day and watched Endgame.
Yeah, sure.
And that one's mine. And now we're all going to get together and be this big blended family. So I just applaud them right away for telling you, because it does two things. One, it doesn't go like, who we're not going to use is Cyclops, because I didn't come up with Cyclops. You know what I mean? What they're probably going to do is recast him, but they're going to use the character because they're not ignorant to it and be like, only X-Men we're going to move forward with are the ones that haven't been in the movies yet. Going to get a whole lot of Jubilee in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so
Dazzler.
that's ignorant, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where you want to see. And so the hodgepodge to me works because I'm a nerd. And if you're going to tell me that there were casting mistakes made. Cyclops, the actor's a good actor. I've seen him in other stuff. It's a bad cast and a bad script, right? Sure. That's not Scott. He's not just like, Wolverine keeps trying to take my girlfriend. Like, he was like, he would have fought him over that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
And I remember watching the movie where he died in like the opening scene. I'm like, that's for the best.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Big picture here, what I'm saying is if Disney wants to move forward with a new Wolverine and a new Storm and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But this is Wolverine and this is Dr. Xavier and it's Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, right.
Great.
Sure.
Great. And I love that. And I think that they're probably down for that.
Sure.
We've already seen Patrick Stewart.
Yep.
We've already seen Hugh Jackman. What Vince McMahon would never do is there was a small role in Mr. Fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And the internet had photoshopped John Krasinski and so what Marvel did was like, oh, this would be a huge hit. Why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we?
Vince McMahon wouldn't, because it wasn't my idea, and it would have been like, it would have been like Stevie Wonder, because it's like, you guys don't like Stevie, right? You know what I mean? Just something stupid.
Yeah, sure.
And what Marvel and Disney, whomever decides this, just goes, oh, the fans think that John Krasinski would be fun. We love that guy. He does look like Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Would you like to do this, John? And then everybody's happy and nobody figures out who gets the credit. Who cares? We made a good movie. And so what I think that they're going to be willing to do is, like I said, if Patrick Stewart's the right guy to play Professor X, which he is until the day he dies.
Yes, it's so true.
Then just bring that guy in. You know what I mean? When I want to talk to you about a fun thing that we hypothesizing is there is a world of X-Men. There's a world of unexplored X-Men that we haven't seen very much of, but we will more so in the future, like Monica Rambeau and people like that, right?
Sure.
But there are all sorts of fun worlds out there that technically people take part in but couldn't join the X-Men because of, legal copyrights. And
because of copyright laws.
who would make a good X-Man that's not in the group right now?
Yeah, who do I think a good X-Men would be from just like a completely different intellectual property? I am going to start with the Doctor from Doctor Who. Mm-hmm. I think that he would be
interesting answer.
See, I think that the Doctor, his intellect and his age regeneration would be very, very helpful for the team. I think he would take on very much a Professor X type role in an X-Men team, but he would be very, very helpful if the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters wanted to move intergalactically.
Okay.
Or, like, you know, the whole time travel thing really kind of helps in certain situations when it comes to these mutants. They're constantly having to battle different futures. It'd be nice if this guy could just go
Sometimes
to them.
their days are of futures past.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you who my honorable mention, who feels obvious, and then the answer that I want to say the most because I like them so much. So the obvious answer is Superman, right? Because it's not just like, because he's so powerful, dude. Did you know he could fly?
Sure.
Like, I understand that he's extremely powerful and would add to any team. He would add to the Celtics, right? I understand.
Yeah, sure.
There's no team.
You're telling me that skill set of Superman?
There's no telling that he would add to any team he's a part of, right? Like, so this is kind of a duh thing. But the reason that I bring up Superman is not just because he's so strong, dude. It's because I think that Superman has faced, especially more in modern comics, the same ostracization of being an alien as the X-Men have of being mutants, right?
Sure.
So if you want to talk about like a story here, it's this guy never actually quite fitting in anywhere. And although that Charles Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters is not full of Kryptonians, it is full of people that don't quite fit in, even if they look like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And I think that dynamic of storytelling between, hey, I'm literally from another world and don't feel like I belong. You're from this world but aren't accepted. And there's just something there beyond. He can fly and has laser eyes.
No, that's a great rationale. You're taking more of the human side of it, which I do think is one of the best parts of the X-Men, is the human story element.
And the fact that they are so powerful yet somehow feel like they are secluded and in almost constant danger from a society that doesn't accept them. And one of the things we've seen really since the inception of the X-Men, but certainly more in modern movies and stuff, is like even the government being like, we got to get rid of them, regulate them, watch them, control them, put them somewhere, because I don't know what they're going to do, and I know what they are capable of doing. That I feel like that would be a very modern Superman thing as well.
Yeah.
Where if there was just this being that is infinitely
It's
powerful,
how the Zack Snyder Superman was perceived.
right? Where it's like this creature is so powerful, and right now it looks like he likes us, but like this guy at any time could zoom up in the air, break into the White House, grab the president, and fly to the sun.
There's nothing we can do about
And
it,
there's
and that's scary.
And that's something that we need to either eliminate or monitor or control or isolate or something. And if you got to that point of the parallel stories where all of a sudden Superman has been, deemed an enemy of the state because he's so dangerous, and the X-Men being so accustomed to that isolation and persecution, I think there's a story there way more than like, oh, how cool would it be to watch Superman take on Galactus? It would. It would. But there's more to it than that from like a writing standpoint.
Superman flying in to punch Magneto isn't really what we're here for.
Exactly right. You know what I mean? Because but you want to talk about like, hey, Superman doesn't have any believable villains. Well, this guy's 800,000 feet tall.
Sure.
You know what I mean? What are we gonna do about
it?
it?
Would be fun to watch him fight this apocalypse.
Yeah, right. And Galactus is the size of a small solar system. So,
Sure.
all right, Clark, go. You know what I mean?
That's fun. My next guy is Deku from My Hero Academia.
Not the tree from Zelda.
Yeah, not the tree from Zelda.
Okay.
Deku from My Hero Academia. I kind of picked him for a lot of the same reasons why you have that honorable mention of Superman. And it is because he is a boy that starts his life with no powers in a world where everybody has powers.
Okay.
And so he is ostracized. He is ostracized because of that fact, and he isn't able to be the hero that he wants to be, but his heart is in the right place.
Okay.
Then through circumstances, he ends up gaining abilities, and so now he has a caring and understanding for that ability that the other people just don't. And so I think he would be a great X-Men because of the fact that he does understand what it also does feel like to be ostracized.
And so many X-Men have to learn how to live with what they have.
Yes.
And he would probably have to learn to live with what he's getting.
That is exactly what it is. It's why he goes to the titular Hero Academia.
There you go.
Like, there's that.
I like that a lot. My fun and number one answer is because I just like to see it, and I don't know what it looks like. I hope it's like the 1990 movie. My number one answer for who could join the X-Men and will have a lot of fun is Raphael. I don't know if they have last names. It'd probably be like Rat or something,
Sure.
but I'm just going to say Raphael. And
Raphael Splinter?
yeah, it's a Mario situation, or his name is Splinter, and so the last name is Splinter. You all know who Raphael is, and I think he would be just an outstanding addition. You may not know this, but they are actually teenaged mutant Ninja Turtles already. So this pissed off 16-year-old mutant turtle could join a group that I would just love if everybody bought whoever needed to be bought and all the garbage of like the legality of it.
Sure.
But here's the plot, right? Splinter goes, there's nothing left for me. I can't handle you. You're so angry. You're so undisciplined. I've tried everything. You need to go to mutant school. You're so like, I can't do, you know what I mean? Like, this is the loving parent who had 4 kids. And
He's going to send one away to boarding school.
3 of them are excellent in their own way, and you're just such a pain. I love you, but you gotta go to military school. And so he is sent to deal with his anger to a guy that can get in his head more than Splinter can. I can't connect with you here.
That's really fun.
I've tried meditation, I've tried zoning in, I've tried everything I can, and I cannot get in your head. I can't, and this guy literally can. And we've got, you know what I mean? I'm almost afraid.
That's a good one.
Of how good of a ninja you are and how dangerous you are unless somebody can just calm you down, get you where you need to be. And I've tried, and I can't. And I think it's just an amazing story where Splinter would have to admit defeat, which would be so hard for him as a father and as a sensei. Right. And then you add this angry black belt in martial arts turtle who doesn't want to be here and doesn't like any of you, and now Wolverine doesn't like you either, and I'm a very, very angry 200-year-old, and I'm a pissed off 16-year-old, and we're not going to get along. You know what I mean? And so like, there's so much there more than like, hiya, pizza. Like, that's where I was thinking about these answers is like, how would they actually canonize with what X-Men already is? Because I love X-Men because I think it's so well written. It's obviously well known that like it's supposed to be the civil rights movement, and Professor X is Martin Luther King, strangely, and Magneto is Malcolm X. Yeah, right. And just the 2 different ways our people are going to make progress in this society that refuses us. Yeah. And that's already such well-written fiction, and I thought that like if you added Raphael in there, just this angry, you know what I mean, but somebody who's already a certified like ninja. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like he's a dangerous little guy. Yeah, sure. You know what I mean? And just with all the potential in the world. Yeah. But, you know, can Professor X break Raphael?
Very interesting. Oop. I just pulled that off the table with my foot. So give me another one, because I jumped you and I gave 2. So you had an honorable mention, you had Raphael.
Okay.
So who's next?
So I'm going to also pull from like the DC. Oh, no, I'm going to go in a different direction, right? Okay. I'm going to go in a fun different direction, right? Because he's already not a human. So we could talk about this too. Is Link from the Legend of Zelda. His name is not Zelda. That's the princess. Yeah. His name is Link.
He's the fairy boy.
Exactly right. So what I'm going to do, again, just thinking about like how he would incorporate here, is that the character is constantly going between worlds, right? There are worlds within Hyrule. There is the Majora's Mask world, which a lot of people believe was Link trying to escape purgatory and or hell itself. And if the moon had crashed into the world, then he would have ran out of time, and this was his last chance to prove himself, and there's so many things. But between a link between worlds, a link to the past, there's so many places where Link just sort of jumps around.
Yeah.
Skyward Sword feels different than a Breath of the Wild.
If you've ever actually seen the timeline, it's nonsensical.
It just cannot be. It cannot happen. Breath of the Wild feels like he lived 1,000 years ago, and Skyward Sword feels like he lived 1,000 years from now.
Well, and it's weird because the timeline is if he doesn't go, so it's the first one always happens, and then the second one happens, and then the third one is
contingent on if he was successful.
If he was successful, so if he was a child and he was successful, it goes to this one. If he's a child and isn't successful, it goes to this.
I think Majora's Mask has to happen if he's not successful in Ocarina of Time
as a child.
I think that's what it is, something like that. And so he has found himself here in this time, in this world.
He later finds himself as the Doom guy. I love that's one of my favorite theories.
But he's here, he's in this world, and he needs guidance, friends, assistance, something to get out of here. And if he can't get out of here,
Jean Grey is also a reincarnation of Zelda just to ruin Scott's day.
Why not? Isn't that right? He's here to save her because she's Zelda in this world. But I just really like the Link character. I've always wanted a live action movie with him, and I think he would be a guy that fits in a place where he doesn't belong, and he's not a human. So I'm a teleporting cat man. It's I'm a fairy, I think. Or an elf. He's elvish.
Yeah, I think he's an elf.
Elvish Presley.
Oh, very fun.
But my number one answer is Raphael, because I want to read that book.
Sure. My last one is Luffy from One Piece. So Luffy, the character, ate a magical fruit. And that magical fruit...
Was it beans?
No, it wasn't.
Okay.
It did not make him toot.
Okay.
It was the gum fruit, and it turned him into a rubber boy. Okay?
Like Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like
All
Mr. Fantastic.
All right.
So this boy really likes fighting. And I just kind of want to see him piss off Scott Summers.
Okay.
That's 100% what this is.
Yeah.
Luffy does not give a fuck about anything. He marches to the beat of his own drum, and I think it would be hilarious watching Scott Summers try to control him on a mission, and that would be very, very funny.
All right, before we go, I'm going to throw a curveball at you really quick. 3 X-Men from the MCU, you're cool, keeping their roles, casting-wise, and 3 you definitely want to see recast.
Oh. I guess the easy 3 answers of people that are good is Professor X, Magneto, and Logan.
Okay.
I think that's the easy answer. So
I've got one to replace Magneto just because he's so old, but go ahead. Now,
sure. So if we just take those off of the table, because I feel like that's just the easiest answer, I think that, God, why can't I remember his name? But the gentleman who played Nightcrawler in X2.
That's not Adrian Brody. That's a different.
It's not Adrian Brody, but it was the guy that was in. He was in GoldenEye.
I know who it is.
Yeah, you know who it is.
Yep.
We'll put a picture of it right here. So he was really good. I think that him as Nightcrawler was really good. Kelsey Grammer as Beast is really, really great. And then I think that Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique is very good. Because as we go further in time, she can still play Mystique.
Yeah, exactly. So the obvious answer is, like Logan and Professor X, as they should be. Cyclops desperately needs to be recast.
Desperately.
They never nailed it. The actor didn't look the part. The script he was given was terrible. He was whiny.
Yeah.
It's just not in the spirit of the character, nor the way the character looks. I would recast Storm only because I don't want to Kofi Kingston this and go in and out of it. Storm should have a South African accent. And so I feel like let's do Storm more accurately. Let's start with a new actress, so it's not like Halle Berry just doing an accent now.
Also, I think Halle Berry at this point wouldn't give Storm justice.
I agree
right?
with that.
Storm should be a younger. I think that this entire team, with maybe the exception of Logan, because of the tomfoolery, should all be younger.
Yep.
And so, having everybody be of the, the current generation of young actors, insert your favorite here. I think that's the type of person that would be great.
And just a complete and total pivot on Rogue. Rogue started out well because I definitely understand the biggest dynamic of her is like I'm falling in love with people and I can't even touch them. But then she just got more and more, I feel like, Twilighty.
Yeah.
And just it got farther away. Her character didn't develop the way I expected it to for somebody who was so integral in movie one.
I would also
to start over.
I'd also really love to see the X-Men the X-Men cartoon version of Rogue more so than the movie. The movie portrayed her as just kind of like this weak, like
Yeah.
and it was like meek.
Let's get the one from the cartoon that calls everybody sugar.
Yeah, I want that girl that touched Carol Danvers and accidentally took all of her abilities.
Right, and maybe the accidental part is in quotes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, that's who I think just Cyclops and Rogue, where it's just like you just got too far away from it.
I would love to see Colossus recast.
Sure.
Colossus is one of my favorite X-Men.
Sure.
If not my favorite X-Men. And I would love to see... he's obviously the butt of a lot of jokes, and he is overly serious, like in the comics.
Yep.
You know, so like that part isn't necessarily, but in the Deadpool movies, he is more of a bumbling foil, and that's not really who that guy is.
The modern MCU just does not know what to do with big, overpowered people. It's like, what do we do with the Hulk? He can be the funny one. What do we do with Colossus? He can be the funny one.
Yeah.
Frustrating. Anyway, we love the X-Men. We hope you do too. Leave a comment below. Who do you think would make a great addition to one of superheroes' most famous teams, and why? Who did you like from the original movies? Who would you like to see come in to the newer ones? And just anything else at Not Too Old To Show.
Yes.
Thanks for stupid people for taking just at Not Too Old To. At Not Too Old To Show. We love to know what you think. We love to know what you want us to talk about. And